Hey, Rob Brown here with you on this Tuesday morning, talking to Brendan Martin, our executive producer before the show, and Jordan
See,
Hill, 24/7 Sports, who covers Georgia. A lot to talk about, man. Uh, we do this Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Central. And you watch us live. We record live, but I think the majority of people watch later. Put in your questions, suggestions, comments, always trying to make the show better, but we're here to deliver content and bring the best guests on that we can find, coaches, players, current, former, media people, writers. Love the writers, and you got the writers on X now, and one of the absolute best is Jordan Davis Hill, who covers Georgia. So take a picture with your phone with the QR code. Follow us on X at Rob Brown underscore. And we're also on YouTube and Facebook. And then, of course, Brendan's cutting up reels and putting them on Instagram and all over social media every day. So if it's happening in the SEC,
it's
or
happening.
yeah, it's happening. And also stories that you don't even know about. I try to get our guests to say what's something we don't know about or we're not talking about that you're going to be writing
Flag
about.
football.
Yeah. And yeah, there's a lot. I mean,
Yeah,
there's a lot
I'm
of
gonna,
trending topics. So
yeah.
catch us, man. And we've got the SEC tournament coming up. Buckle up, folks, because it is going to be March Madness is here. It is Fat Tuesday. Tomorrow begins Lent. So a lot of people probably, like Frank Duffy, walk in the streets of New Orleans, but it all began in the port city, folks, Mobile. They just need to market that better. So let's get started and go straight in to Jordan Davis Hill. And Jordan, great uh, tweet that you put out the other day about so many Georgia fans watch from the couch and all. And that's pretty much it's out there. You have been on top of this Georgia basketball. Mike White knows what he's doing. Last week was a hell of a week to get the win over Florida, and then to go like you did in football. Y'all just own Texas. How you doing?
I'm doing great. And yeah, a week that I didn't really anticipate for Georgia basketball. I thought they had a shot in that game at Texas, but I mean, Brendan, I was on with you guys that morning before the Florida game. I never in my wildest dreams did I think Georgia would be able to win that game. And to have gotten that first win over a top three team since January 2004. They beat number three Georgia Tech in overtime back in 2004. So, I mean, just huge. I mean, totally flipped their NCAA tournament hopes. I mean, they were moving very quickly off the bubble. They went into that Florida game on a 4-game losing streak, beat them. I think the most impressive thing to me about that win, guys, they lost the lead with like 128 to go,
Oh yeah,
and I'm sitting there in the arena thinking they've blown it. Like they're done. That like the fact they've lost this lead, they had led by as much as 26 in the first half, and they found a way to win. Blue Cane hits a big three. Ace and Newell got some huge rebounds and they hit free throws and won that one 88 to 83. And then Saturday's game, if it wasn't Georgia's most complete game, it's definitely in the top two or three. I mean, they dominated
yeah.
Texas. I think they led by 17 at halftime. The biggest thing right now, their guards are playing fantastic. Silas Demery Jr., the point guard, he was named SEC Player of the Week after
Yeah.
how he played against Florida and Texas. Blue Cane playing well. This team's trending in the right direction at the right time. Now they play at South Carolina tonight. I know South Carolina's last in the league, but they've won their last two home games, so they're going to be hungry. They're going to want to look to pull off a big upset tonight.
Well, I mean, look at them. I mean, Florida went in there and got a 70-69 win. Auburn got out by 2 or 3 points. They last year were really good. Uh, there's no nights off in this league. This Georgia basketball team, what is it in particular? The depth, the 3-point shooting, the rebounding. It looks like a combination of everybody's doing their part.
I think a couple of things. One, on defense, they've played
Mhm.
really good defense throughout the season. And going back to when Mike White was hired, he preached that he was going to build it off of defense. And the problem was in a few of the games where they hung tight for like a half and just couldn't keep up. They'd play good defense, and then it was just like the offense would just stagnate. And then, the defense could only hold for so long. I think they've finally gotten a good feel for their rotation. They've cut out a few players. They did have a few guys who were out for a little bit, Tyron Lawrence and Dakota LaFew. Having those guys back as part of that backcourt, I think that was huge. I think they finally know what they are looking for from their rotation. They finally figured out how to get some scoring when those main guys, Silas Demery Jr., Blue Kane, Asa Newell, when they're off the floor, they've started to find other guys they can rely on, even if it's just for 4 or 5 minutes of play before those guys come back in. So I think they finally nailed down what it's going to take to score enough points to win some of these games. The defense, pretty much for the entire season, has been reliable and has been something they could count on. But that's continued, and they finally nailed down that rotation. I think that's gone a long way for this team.
Yeah, and you look at it, I think 78% from 3-point range in that first half against Florida. You're going to beat anybody, but a tribute to Florida, they're down by what, 26, and they come back and take the lead. I don't I don't want to play Florida. Nobody does, because of their size. You look at Georgia; they don't have 5 guys 6'10", but they seem like Blue Kane. Is he the glue on that team, or is he the unsung hero? What is it about him? And like you say, Demery, and Asa Newell. Everybody says he's just a one and done. He's just stopping by for, as Chuck Oliver always says, for a cup of coffee. See ya, I'm out of here. But I don't know. I mean, he's what, 6'10", 6'11"? I go to a lot of Grizzlies games. I've sat there right near the court and watched some great players. Kevin Durant, when he posts up from 3-point range, it's like just nothing. Asa Newell is a special player. What interaction have you had with him? What makes him tick?
Going back to Blue Kane, I think you're right. I think he is kind of the glue guy, not only because when he really gets going offensively, it feels like this entire team is moving in the
Yeah.
right direction. I'd say that for him and Silas. But Blue's the guy that you look up. I think he had like 9 rebounds against Texas. Like he just does all the little things, doesn't turn the ball over. And with Asa Newell, super impressed. He's a guy that came in this summer and was like, yeah, I look at myself as a one and done type of guy. I will be really curious.
Yeah.
I think as of now, I'd say he goes, but the last ESPN projection I saw had him as like the 20th overall player. If you get the right NIL package, you may be able to convince him to stay and then try to be a lottery pick next year. So not necessarily a done deal, but I'd say if I had to guess right now, I would say he'll go pro. But yeah, I mean, Ace has been impressive. What I have appreciated the most, and I'd say it's different in basketball compared to football, because basketball you can go one and done, so you put more on the freshman. But I mean, he's essentially been a team spokesman from the start, and not only done that, going out and done post game interviews, but I mean, he's a sharp guy. He's a guy that they trust in those situations. I've never seen him say something that made me go,
Yeah.
oh, that's a freshman talking. I mean, he's got a really good head on his shoulders. He understands the moment. He understands a lot of people are looking at him as part of getting Georgia back to where it's just competitive in college basketball. I mean, you can't say that for probably 10 years, which is the last time they made the NCAA tournament. So, no, super impressed with Asa. Again, fascinated to see what that decision winds up being, because I don't know that it's necessarily a done deal that he's gone.
Yeah, I don't either. Yeah.
I don't either. Look, I don't know Mike White, but we had Mike White down in Florida. Great coach, great basketball coach. Really, really, he kind of ran out of town a little bit unjustly. And I never, but Todd Golden and him, sort of similar coaching styles to me, with the importance on defense. And Georgia's played great defense, specifically thinking about the Kentucky game, where they held like number 2 shooting team in the country to, like, I don't know what the stats are, but I'm just referencing the fact that defensively and fundamentally, Coach White, it seems to have them playing like the Gators are playing, in a sense, where great defense, great rebounding, concentrate on playing as a team. And I think that's, those kind of teams can come back from huge deficits, right?
Yeah.
Those are the dangerous teams, because they just go back to the source, right? They go back to, okay, guys, we got to get back to where we were. Let's play our game, right? I thought that I didn't think that game was going to be super close. I thought Florida would win, but just talk to me about Mike White and that comparison to Todd Golden. Do you see those comparisons?
Yeah, for sure. And I think something you hit on there, Brendan, even going back to last season for Georgia, which, they wound up getting hot in the NIT, but they were never really a threat to make the NCAA tournament, probably by the time we got to February. But even last year's team had a penchant for getting down 15 or 16. And, I'm getting ready to write my story and waiting to walk down, the stairs to go do interviews. And all of a sudden they get hot. And it's the thing that, they build uh, their attitude is about playing defense first and getting stops. And Mike White's a big, okay, let's win this next 4 minute
Yeah.
segment. Let's win this next 6 minute segment, like breaking down the game. And that's the thing, too. That's what fascinates me, not only about the NCAA tournament, if Georgia gets there, but the SEC tournament. I mean, I think that it's a team that I think the last projection I saw said Arkansas, which would be really interesting. That was a good game. But a situation where if you see Georgia get down, I would tell folks who are watching this, don't turn the channel, because if they get down 15-16, they're going to fight their way back. And it is fascinating to me, Brendan, when you consider the Mike White situation at Florida. I mean, I think it'd be hard to
Yeah.
argue it didn't work out best for everybody involved. They got Todd Golden, who I think is going to win a national championship at Florida. I'm very impressed with Todd, a good
Yeah.
young coach. Mike gets a chance to start over. Think about the pressure he stepped into. I remember reading about, him walking in, and, there's the Billy Donovan. I don't know if it was a banner or something, but someone hit on, I mean, he's replacing Billy Donovan. Those are big shoes to fill.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
everybody won in that situation when Mike leave, and Georgia certainly did, because he took over a dumpster fire. And we're talking about them being in great position to make the NCAA tournament with 2 games left in the regular season.
I'll make a statement too. For years, and we always heard it. I did growing up. Coach Bryant, if Florida ever gets their act together, we're all fighting for second in football. That's Georgia basketball. That's the scary thing, because just Metro Atlanta, 22 counties, 6.5 million people. We're over there a lot. We're getting the pull from Mallory to come spend spring break down there in Atlanta. I mean, which I love, because the Braves, well, yeah, they might have an exhibition game or something, but Georgia basketball, watch them this year. They're relentless. You can't shake them. You look at them against a lot of the best teams, and you try to pull away. I know in the Florida lost to them. The Auburn, both Auburn games, they're not going to give you anything. You're going to have to earn it against the Dogs. Recruiting wise, what's happening there? Because again, you're right next to Atlanta, and these SEC players are staying home. They're not going to the ACC, and that's why the SEC is the dominant league, whereas the Big 12 has been for the last three.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the way Georgia has recruited. They signed 3 guys in this class, and the thing that they've done year after year with Mike, and I think I'll be fascinated if they make an NCAA tournament run. What this looks like this year, but they've done a great job of recruiting the portal. But we talked about
Yeah.
Silas and Blue earlier. Those are 2 guys that were lined up to sign with other schools when they got them. This would have been 2 years ago, because Silas was going to USC. They have a veteran guard who decides, hey, I'm going to come back for another year. So
Yeah.
then Silas opens it up, and he winds up coming to Georgia. Blue Kane's going to go to Georgia Tech to play for Josh Pastner. Josh Pastner gets fired. He opens it back up and
Yeah.
winds up coming to Georgia. So they've signed 3 guys in this class. Jacob Wilkins, I think I've talked about before. That's Dominique's son. People are excited about
Mm-hmm.
him. Kareem Stagg, a center from IMG Academy. They've done a good job of recruiting IMG. That's where Blue Kane was. And then Jackson McVeigh, a center they got. He was at Overtime Elite, which is where they've gotten talent. Santos Surreal, one of the guys on this year's team, was
Mm-hmm.
at Overtime Elite. So they've done a good job. They've recruited the state of Georgia okay, but they just really make the most of relationships. They've recruited the state of Florida very well. Obviously, that goes back to Mike White's time there, as well as Eric Pastrana, his lead assistant. So they maximize relationships, and it's part of why this roster's in as good a shape as it is.
Well, you've got South Carolina and you got Vanderbilt coming in for your last game. Uh, I definitely think Georgia's in the tournament, and that the SEC tournament's even bigger for a school like Georgia, because you can actually get a better seed. I mean, There's just certain places where you want to be, but it's been fun watching, and I commend you because you put so much out. I love seeing because throughout the games, but you're calling out people for watching the games from the couch, and not. I love that. You're a true grit journalist. I love that.
My thing is just for me personally. I get so much more out of watching a basketball game being there. And my thing is more so home games. If you don't make the road trips, I can understand that. But yeah, we got a couple people on the beat who like to watch from home. So they missed out for that Florida game. And I genuinely do hate that more so for readers. Because if you're reading, you don't really know. But yeah, if I can be there, I'm going to be there, and that's a big part of the job.
Hey, look, don't count Mike White out. Don't forget in 2016 and 17 when the Gators weren't projected to do anything and they ended up at the Elite Eight. Yeah. So he's a great coaches know how to coach in March, right? So
hey, I'm always going to root for Chris Chiozza. That I've got a cousin that is cousins with him, so I've been following Chris pretty much. Once he got into high school, we've been keeping up with Chris.
Well, Chris played at White Station where my kids were here in Memphis, so they all watched him play, and he went to Florida. What a player. Good God, man. Jordan, let them know how they can follow you. As always, thanks for retweeting, and we'll retweet and forward whatever we can to help you with your brand. But you are absolutely, like Jason Caldwell, y'all go everywhere. So if you want an everywhere reporter, follow Jordan Davis Hill.
Anytime I get compared to Jason Caldwell is a good day. But dogs247.com on Twitter at Jordan Davis Hill, on Twitter at dogs247. Running $1 for the first month sale right now over at dogs247. Get on it right now. We got Georgia basketball making this run. We got spring practice starting a week from today. So there's not a better time to get signed up over at dogs247.
Absolutely, man, because it's nonstop. Get on X alone. It's worth it, man. Thank you.
Thanks, Jordan.
You bet. Jacques Doucet. And Jacques, I'm always embarrassed when I reach out to you on Siri. I was doing an audio text. I was on the road all day yesterday, all over the Mid-South for work. And I send you Jacques. I know how to spell it. And Siri calls you Jack. And I came back and I said, so my apologies. But you also work nonstop, 2-time sportscaster of the year in Louisiana, WAFB Channel 9 in Baton Rouge. Lots happening. LSU baseball. It's a big deal. We talk a lot, Buddy Martin does, about back in the day, Florida football had more writers than anybody following that. Now you've got more writers following LSU baseball than some SEC schools do following their football programs. So let's talk about the Diamond. Not that I'm ignoring basketball, but you can talk about that as well.
Well, good morning. Brennan, are you taking Kevin Costner's place on Yellowstone? I like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I live in Ocala, Florida. It's like a little bit of Yellowstone around here, I got to say, with the development of the World Equestrian Center. And now we have this seasonal person that comes in. They do hunter jumpers and all these different things and all these disciplines and horses. And now we have these people that come in for the winter and they leave and they come in for the summer. And it's like they're all out of the cast of Yellowstone. Every single one of them is out of the cast of Yellowstone. So I'm just trying to fit in, Jacques. This actually comes from Hewlett and Dunn, one of the great sponsors that we have at our show.
One of our sponsors. I'm getting him some wild boar boots this week.
Looks great. Look, those just like Yellowstone, those damn tourists coming in and out on our beautiful place here.
Get out of here.
Sounds beautiful and dangerous all at once. A bit like Yellowstone. So yeah, I mean, LSU baseball typically leads the country in attendance every year. I mean, I think there's some parks now that are bigger and draw bigger crowds. I think Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Arkansas, they're way up there too. But I'm talking about consistently, night in, night out, midweek game, in terms of the tickets they sell. So the interest is extremely high. And I think the difference with LSU and other schools is that, for example, LSU went to Frisco, Texas, played in a minor league ballpark this past week in a AA park and sold the place out. I mean, there were 10, 11,000 people there to watch LSU play Nebraska, Sam Houston State, Kansas State, and obviously a lot of those people are wearing purple and gold. You've seen it at the World Series. I mean, I know Brendan's a Florida guy, and the Gators got the best of LSU in 2017. Won the national championship, but it was like 25,000 people and like 23,000 were LSU fans. So Omaha is very disappointed when LSU baseball doesn't make it to the World Series because they know their business is going to take a big dip if they're not there. So there's a great interest, and that of course goes all the way back to the great Skip Bertman, who in the early 1984 came aboard as LSU's head coach, and made college baseball from something that was just kind of a novelty that drew a couple of hundred fans to being a tradition and a lifestyle here in South Louisiana and around the country. So they're supposed to play 5 games this week, supposed to play North Dakota State tonight. We've got some weather moving in. They've got some big winds coming in this afternoon. I'm totally forgetting today is Mardi Gras as well. I mean, that doesn't even register
I know.
on my radar. That's Mardi Gras.
Well, that's a big storm coming in. It's like a mini cyclone or something that's blowing through, or getting all sorts of weather warnings, and parts of some of Mardi Gras has been canceled, they said today. That's what I was reading in the newspaper.
Yeah, they've canceled some. They've moved a lot up. So, people, not that they weren't cracking their beers at when the sun came up today, but they're gonna be cracking them even earlier. I think there's some parties just supposed to roll at 6:30, 7. I mean, really early in the morning that have already gone off. So that's it.
I don't think they stop. Frank Duffy's our reporter down there. He's been down there for weeks, and so it's like, what day is it?
Yeah.
And then tomorrow Lent, and so I'll be at Mass tomorrow, and think what LSU has done for college baseball nationally. I remember in 1997, we were over in Hilton Head watching LSU 97 and 98 in the World Series. And that's when college baseball had 4 of the 8 teams, maybe 5, were in the Omaha. And they tried to change the way it happened, and we still stack it. And when Frank goes out there to Baton Rouge, remember you ran into Frank out there in his RV. I think he had come from California, and he told Rhonda, his wife, he said, look, if the Tigers get to Omaha, we're going. It may just be for a few days. 12 days in Omaha. He said that ride home, there wasn't a lot of talking. she just gave him a list of demands. But God, I just love college baseball like I do every other.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, I when LSU went there in 2023 and won the national championship, that was definitely a professional high for me to go there and be there for 2 weeks.
Wow.
The weather on some mornings you get up in Omaha and it's in the high 60s. The weather is fantastic. You got all those bars and restaurants in downtown Omaha, the pizza place that did the shot challenge, that LSU won easily. And Rocco's, that's right across the street from the stadium. And I think I went to the old stadium one time, the old Rosenblatt, and there was something, that's been kind of lost with that in terms of it was in a neighborhood and people were parking in people's yards. And, there was something more that was a little more college and a little more intimate about that. They had the zoo over the right field wall there and stuff. And the new stadium is beautiful. It's immaculate, but it's definitely much more corporate, much more professional baseball like, but it's still, it's fantastic. And, I think a lot of fans that they're always caught with that choice, right? It's like, okay, do we go for the beginning or do we go and hope that they, do we hope keep our fingers crossed that they win? And then we try to go to the national championship if they make it that far. So most people can't go for 2 weeks because of work or money. But it's a wonderful thing that they do up there.
It is. All right, let's talk LSU basketball. What you think is going to happen? This is year 3 for McMahon, and we know about a big commitment for NIL for basketball, but what do you think will take
Well, I'll
place?
tell you what, I mean, we might be the only ones talking about LSU men's basketball. You take a look at LSU.
We'll be brief.
You take a look at the LSU sports scene, and it's like, gymnastics won the national title last year. They're packing the house. They're highly ranked. Baseball is 1 or 2 in every single poll. We just talked about them. Women's basketball, they've had a couple of losses, but they're still going to host in the NCAA tournament. They got shot at making a run in the big dance. You go on down the line, all the different sports. Softball's off to an 18-1 start. They're in the top 5. So men's basketball, although we talked about last week, they're still one of the only 2 money makers on the campus in terms of clearing money for your program. But, and you take a look at Will Wade, LSU's former coach that they fired he's down in McNeese, and he's won back-to-back Southland Conference titles in his 2 years at McNeese. I think his conference record is something like 35 and 34 and 2, I think, in 2 years there in the Southland. So he's tearing it up. They're going to host the conference tournament, got a chance to go to the NCAA back-to-back years. So I think LSU's taken a look at it and said that we can't afford to fire Matt McMahon and pay him $8 million, then pay off his assistants as well and hire a new coach. It's to get too expensive. So let's try to give this guy some support and give him some roster money. And I don't like talking about this stuff. To me, it's just a big turnoff.
Yeah,
I don't like reporting. Well, Auburn's got $8 million invested in their roster, so LSU's only got $2 million, so we need to up the money and all that. I mean, I think the average fan is turned off by that. I mean, just like in sport,
they are.
Just like in pro sports. I mean, does anybody watch ESPN and they say, well, this guy's got a new 5-year, $50 million contract with a blah signing bonus? I don't know if we're selfish by nature. How does it affect me? How does it make me feel good? Play for my team, win, and make me feel good. So that's kind of what it's all about. So, but at the same time, I think LSU has said we need to help this guy out, see if we can get some better players. And because they're not even going to make the NIT at this point. They play Kentucky tonight, I believe, on the road. They don't really do press conferences during the week. They do a post-game press conference. They don't really do pre-game press conferences. And the apathy is really set in. There's not many people going to the games, and that's unfortunate. I mean, I grew up in the Dale Brown era where it was packed almost every night. Star players make the NCAA tournament every year. John Brady certainly had a great run with LSU as well. And then Will Wade had it really up and running. But the problem was that he, for the majority of the time he was here, had this black cloud over him about this FBI wiretap and what happened there. I think I told you he put in his 5 years at LSU, he put a NCAA product on the floor 4 times. He only coached in 1 NCAA tournament because he was suspended for 2 of them. And COVID canceled the tournament in 2020.
Yeah. Yeah, and you just chronicled everything so well. I'm going to just move forward because there's no way to rebut that. And you're right. I'm with you. I've said this forever. I don't care. I want to see a guy diving into the stands, chasing balls, giving effort because he loves the laundry in my school. That's what I see as a fan. And your contract. I don't ask people that I meet on the street, how much money do you make? And we do too much of that. All right, so let's talk about LSU Tiger football. Spring practice, you can feel it right now. I mean, the weather, it's like the switch went off about a week ago. We're already in there. What are the Tigers looking to do in the spring? Nussmeier, people love this guy, but he actually loves LSU. He loves the state of Louisiana. He's got to be one of the more popular players at quarterback LSU's ever had.
Yeah, he grew up in the Lake Charles area. I think the average fan would say he had a very good year. The interceptions need to come down. They need to give him more support. I think the interceptions sometimes were a product of his decision making, and other times they were a product of he's trying to do too much is on his shoulders, and he's forcing the ball. And the second half of the Texas A&M game was really bad. The Alabama game was rough. The Georgia game, the Florida game on the road when they lost those 3 games in a row. But I think in some Vegas odds, he's the favorite to win the Heisman Trophy. I think Jaden Daniels was second when he won the Heisman Trophy. So he's following. All of a sudden, LSU's gone from a kind of a quarterback graveyard for a decade to now, putting pressure on the guy starting to be the next Joe Burrow, Jaden Daniels. So I think he, when he's in interviews and whatnot, he's very modest. He's definitely not a kid who is full of himself and reading his own press clippings. I think that's a big product of his dad, Doug Nussmeier, who's now going to be coaching with the Saints an hour down the road with Kellen Moore, the new Saints head coach. And so March 8th is the first day of spring football for LSU. I don't think we're allowed to go to a practice until 11th or 12th, which is next week. And so LSU is looking to replace a defensive line coach. They just lost Bo Davis, who came aboard for just 1 year. Now going to the Saints. The Saints and LSU have had an interesting relationship over the years. I know some LSU fans have gotten very irritated with them for passing on LSU players when they could have drafted them. Jarvis Landry, Patrick Queen, a few others. They didn't take them. It's almost, LSU fans view things, a certain way. They hate LSU players and never draft them. And now they're stealing our coaches. So took Bo Davis. So Brian Kelly going into his 4th year. Has anything really changed in terms of pressure being on him when you're in a 10-year contract and it's 90% guaranteed? I don't know. But certainly I think this year everyone is expecting, okay, considering what you got in the portal, considering you got your quarterback back, the schedule is not terribly daunting, I don't think. you should be in the playoff this year when there's 12 teams.
Yeah, and we're going to go to 14. We're going to go to 16 before we know it. Brian Kelly, you've had a chance to interact with him a lot. Is he really loving being at LSU? I mean, you're right. The quarterback position at LSU has been elevated to one of maybe the most high-profile quarterback position in America. When you look at Joe Burrow, look at Daniels, my God, and it wasn't working at Arizona State. Something magic happened there. So Nussmeier, you're right. What's a number that LSU fans? You're not going to put the number out, but what are they expecting this year? What are they like? We got to do this, but again, you can't do anything with the coach. You just got to move the staff around. It's too expensive, and if that house settlement goes through, there's a $21 million assessment on top of that.
Well, I don't want to say 10-2 is going to be the bare minimum, but I think 10-2 safely gets you into the playoff. Taking a look at it, you had some 9-3 teams that got in this year. Now, will next year be different? I don't know, but once again, you're playing one of these. I always call them these Daytona 500 type games where you play, this big one right out of the chute, and you're going to Clemson first game of the year. Now, Clemson may not be what they used to be, but still, I mean, that's Death Valley. That's a huge crowd, and that's a team that can certainly beat you if you don't play well when you're going on the road, starting 0-1. That'd be 6 straight years of 0-1 for LSU. They haven't won a season opener since Joe Burrow and company in 2019 when they beat Georgia Southern. So, Brian Kelly's 0-3 in season openers, and so that always starts things off with and then you got to go put a lot of wins together in a row to kind of get people back on track. Okay, we got a shot, and then lose another one. So he's lost 3 games or more his first 3 years here. They've been good. They haven't been great. And so that's the deal. Trying to take the next step this year to becoming elite in a conference that's now got 16 teams and tougher than it's ever been.
Yeah, and I think that kind of an underrated story of Jim Nagy leaving the Senior Bowl to be the GM at Oklahoma. So with his experience, that is going to just make the league even tougher. You think Oklahoma – they're not going to allow that program to do. LSU, you're right. The talent level at LSU is awesome. But I think the biggest loss is Bo Davis. I think he's an elite defensive line coach, and you hate to see that. Look, I know you're up late working, get some rest, but let people know how they can follow you. And I really appreciate you coming on because I know having my little career a couple of years in TV on the Eastern time zone, I never got home till 12:30 or 1. And something happened on my beat. I got a call at 6 a.m.
It's like some nights, you get back and you can't fall asleep till like 1. And then there's other nights where you fall asleep a little quicker. It's the way it goes sometimes. If I didn't have this show this morning, I would have woke up like at 6:30 and couldn't go back to sleep, and then the days you do, it's like, I could have slept like 10 today. No. But no, I enjoyed being with you. Thanks for having me on. It's all good. WAFB.com is our website. You can follow me on at WAFB9 Sports on Twitter. My previous account got hacked and lost it. I'm trying to get it back. Terrible. Elon has slashed the staff there at X, and so it's been hard to get back in touch with people to get my account back that had 92,000 followers. It makes me sick, but anyway, hoping to do that. But I just did an interview with Kramer Robertson, former LSU baseball star, who of course is the son of Kim Mulkey, and he gave a really good interview about his mom and the criticism she gets nationally and by other people, and talked a lot about her. So that's up on YouTube. That's really good if you want to check that out.
Definitely. You are, man. I'm telling you, that's why you should be Sportscaster of the Year every year. But man, I'll definitely watch. That's on YouTube.
Yeah, I just did it yesterday. Old Kramer came by. Kramer's now working at LSU. He's got a new role. He did minor league and Major League Baseball for a while, and he really is a very thoughtful interview. I interviewed him 3 years ago, and I'm like, man, you need to be like on the women's broadcast team the way you break this down and talk about it. So yeah, check him out. It's almost like, and too, I almost felt like telling him, like, you are, I know Kim's your mom, but you two are like nothing alike. Like Kim is like so intense, and Kramer is just kind of like, just kind of like, mellow yellow with him. So
yeah. I'm going to watch that today, man. Jacques, Thank you so much, and we'll do it again next week or the week
All
after.
right, Rob.
Appreciate it.
Brendan,
Happy
thanks,
Mardi
man.
Gras. All right.
Thanks, Jack. We should be down there partying with him today. I don't know why we're here.
I know. And just the Bacchus float, someone sent it to me last night, had Shaq is there. It is just debauchery down there at Mardi Gras. Let's say something before we introduce our good friend Yancy Porter. Winter Timber Outdoors in Athens, Alabama. They are open every day of the week, and they're going to be in a town near you sooner than later. It is turkey season, folks. They got all the slate calls, the box calls, everything that you need. You've got to have the right camo. You got to have the right calls, the right ammo, the right guns. They have over 2,000 shotguns, rifles, and handguns in the store in Athens, Alabama. It is a beautiful store with a staff full of people that know what they're doing when it comes to the outdoor life. Get all the gear, Sitka, Dixie decoys, duck camp. They've got all the hats, coats, gloves. When you're turkey hunting, you got to have ground blinds. You got to have cover. Turkeys can see and hear like nothing else. If they could smell like a deer, you'd really be in trouble. You'd probably never kill one. But all your choke tubes, everything, the Rete, Masimara, GPS, BOGO, buy one, get one free. Take a picture with your QR code. Winter Timber Outdoors in Athens, Alabama. Got a store under construction in Auburn. About to announce something in Memphis here soon. And Landers, Ford, Memphis, open Monday through Saturday, 7 a.m., 7 p.m. Drove by there yesterday. Big lot, Poplar and Houston Levy. Huge inventory. Also, pre-owned vehicles. Brad Bellamy, our good friend, is the general manager. You can go see him, talk to them. If you're trying to get into a vehicle, they will help you. There's a lot of opportunities right now on the Fords. Again, huge inventory, and they will pick you up, provide round-trip transportation if you have to have your vehicle
didn't
serviced.
he tell me to come down and get my car? I was on there. Didn't Brad tell me last Friday to come get my Bronco?
He said, come talk to him. Yeah, he said they need to see you in a Bronco. They've got a special 6'4" version with a sunroof for a man.
I mean, can you imagine you and I rolling around in 2025 in a Bronco? We go all the games.
Yeah, I mean, they are good.
I love those Broncos. I want to put some.
Good.
I think with the big tires on it. I think that looks badass.
Yeah, they've got them. They've got the Sasquatch package. That's what
I'll drive the old Terry Bradshaw Chevy up to Landers. We'll trade it in for a Ford, and we'll make a big video about it. How about that?
See, there it is right there, that one with the canoe on top. They've got a soft top and a hard top Bronco.
And don't forget, take $500 off as an SEC Sideline Sports member or audience member. Yep. You call in, ask for back, you get $500 off. Bam, there you go. So we got to love Landers.
And it's a cool place. And you go out there, great service. They are all over the Mid-South, and they'll deliver anywhere. You can do it online, folks. It's really easy. You put all the information in, they'll walk you through it. But they've got dedicated people for that purpose. Hey, from across the pond, our first guest on Sidelines, who's in Europe. I guess he's over there trying to bring peace with Zelensky.
I didn't know he was in Europe. We left the damn guy on hold for like 20 minutes.
Yeah, Europe's just north of Grenada, isn't it?
God, Rob, you got to know. I got to tell you, guests are on hold for like 20 minutes. So like, this guy cost him $100 just to be on hold.
Well, you know, yeah. Oh, I was thinking of Eupora, Mississippi. That's down near Louisville. Where are you in Europe, Yancy?
A little town by Frankfurt. Came over here about a week ago. Wanted to check it out. No.
Are you in Dusseldorf?
No, it's not Dusseldorf. Oh gosh, I can't think of the name of it right now. I'll tell it to you in a minute. It starts with an S. Like
he doesn't want to tell us because he's on a secret mission.
Secret location.
Want anyone to know where he is, and there ain't no sports or internet access out there. That's all he needs.
Hey, Yancy, I was at a train station in Frankfurt one time, and I do remember hearing 5 songs, and 4 of them were like Johnny Cash, Elvis, Carl Perkins, and a Tina Turner song. They love American music and culture over there. In fact, they love it more than a lot of people even.
Rob, I think you're a secret closet Tina Turner. Like I've heard you reference Tina Turner now several times. We want to talk about this? Is this the thing?
Well, I saw the Tina Turner Museum on I-40 yesterday when I went past Brownsville.
You've been there though. You've gone in there. Come on.
I didn't stop. I was
But
too
you
busy
want to stop.
yesterday, but I do want to go there. She can sing from Nutbush. Gosh, she could sing. She could sing.
Oh, yeah, I
SANG.
love
You know,
Tina, man. She was the best, man.
Yeah,
awesome.
Tina was
Yancy,
good.
hey, she
R.I.P.
is,
Tina.
and also so are you. I turned on Rebel Yell Hotline driving back yesterday from Jackson, Mississippi, Tennessee, and there was no Rebel Yell Hotline. And I'm
Yeah.
going, what's going on? But it's, hey, you know where you can catch it? Monday nights at 6 p.m. on Sports 56 WHBQ out of Memphis or Super Talk, Mississippi. It is an awesome show.
And by the way,
Yancy,
before we do that, because we
hottie,
always have
toddy.
these guys in, so we're going to bring in our other phone line guys, our two phone line guys, and Rodney Orr and Tighter Insider.
There we go. My boy
Rodney.
Rodney.
RTR, Rodney. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Do you want me to? Do you want me to?
Yancey's
Do
in
you want me to
Germany.
say WDE?
No. Hey, all I can tell you is this, Rodney. You, we have got so much to cover right now. So I having y'all two on here is a lot of fun because I learn so much. But let's get going and get started because we got a hot basketball race going on now. We got spring football starting. We got baseball, and Yancy, you're over on special assignment in Germany. So let's talk about it right now. And I'll just say this: put these rumors to rest if you can. Oh, Chris Beard's got the love for Indiana. He's tied to the coaching tree at Indiana. I just don't see him wanting to leave the John and Sandy Black Pavilion in Oxford. Indiana was big story 20 years ago, but I think Ole Miss has more upside now because simply the Grove Collective, and they're in the SEC.
Yeah, I mean, the SEC, excuse the traffic noise there, is definitely the premier basketball conference now. I mean, this didn't just pop up this year. They have slowly, or some could say quickly, have been gaining momentum to become the premier basketball conference over the
Yeah,
last several years. But, I mean, Beard's got everything that he wants at Ole Miss. I certainly can't get in his mind and predict what's going to happen in the future, but I would be surprised. Actually, a little bit surprised if Indiana offered him the job.
yeah,
I don't think that's going to happen. I do think that Beers, he did get offered last year by Arkansas, and that was the one that everybody was really worried about. He has a lot of ties to Arkansas. A lot of people in his network are from
yeah, they are.
Arkansas, and if he didn't leave over there to Arkansas, I'd be a little bit surprised if he left for
Hey, let
Indiana.
me ask. Let me
Yeah, I
jump in,
can't
Rob, and
imagine.
ask real quickly
Yeah,
him a question about that. You know, Yancey, think about this. When Beard got fired at Texas, I mean, who
Yeah.
who who took him? Ole
exactly.
Miss. I mean,
Well, Ole Miss,
doesn't there
yeah,
have to be some sort sense of loyalty there with that? Would you think?
you would think so. You would think so, but I mean, does that mean it ties him down to that school forever? If things weren't the way that he wanted it, I don't think so. But again, Arkansas was always the big job that people were worried about because of his natural connections. He coached at Little Rock. Half of his uh, uh, and his people in his network are from Arkansas. There was, they wanted him really bad, and then obviously after Beard turned that down, they pivoted over there and got Cal, and I think Cal will do really good things over there. And I don't foresee anything happening with Beard, but
Yeah,
that's not even nobody's even talking about that right now. It's
yeah,
just trying to beat Tennessee on senior night tomorrow night, trying to improve their seeding. They lost 3 games in a row, and they weren't playing really well. And they're still not playing defensively like they had played, the first 20, 25 games. So that's really what they're really focusing on. I believe the last 4 opponents have shot over 50% against Ole Miss from the field, which is really hard to do. So they got to get that defense shored up before tournament time.
yeah. Rodney, Alabama's closed with Florida coming to town and then going to Auburn Saturday. Uh, if they split those two, they should move up in the rankings. I mean, they should not move down. And I don't know if anybody has a tougher close. The way y'all lost at Tennessee the other day was all, I mean, it's awful to lose. That's gravedigger bad. But talk about what the goals are right now for this team. And as long as Nate Oates is there, Alabama's going to be in the hunt for winning everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a gut wrenching way to lose. I mean, you blow it about 12 different ways in the final 30 seconds, no doubt. And, Nate Oates stepped up and said, "Hey, look, I didn't do a very good job there at the end. This one's on me." And so he took responsibility, ownership of what happened in Knoxville. But, the thing about that is, Rob, you've talked about the SEC so much and just the rivalries and all of that. And it's like when Alabama and Tennessee play in anything can happen, and usually does. I mean, it's usually the unexpected. Just when you think the game's won, Stacey Harrison sweeps in and blocks the kick and sets Phillip Doyle up for a 47-yarder. And I mean, it's just same thing in basketball. I mean, it looked like the game was really in hand there in the last closing seconds that Alabama had.
Yeah. Well, you looking at the end, and Rodney, come back to us if you can, but that 35-foot shot at the end, Yancy, I don't know if you saw it Saturday. That's a gut punch. In Alabama, you don't know what they're going to do. They can go in a track meet like no other team. And I'm with you, Yancy. A lot of people outside of the SEC are talking about Chris Beard going, but I think it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see it happening. I really don't. He's got everything that he wants here, but I mean, you never can tell with coaches these days. I mean, it's like football players now, right? With the portal. I mean, you don't ever know what's going to happen. But I would be surprised. Again, the one that was really everybody had their eye on, nervous about was Arkansas because of his natural connections over there. So when he turned that down last year, I'd be surprised that he would move out of the premier conference to go to the Big Ten. For one, and a lot of people put the Indiana deal. They mistakenly think that he coached over there for 10, 12 years under Bobby Knight, but that was at Texas Tech. I don't even know if Beard's ever even been there on
I don't think
Indiana's
he
campus.
has.
So all the connection stuff is really
It was in
overblown with
Lubbock,
Indiana.
and he's already been at Lubbock, and he left there. So there you go. I think Rodney, we'll do it again. And you're right. Tennessee and Alabama could get heated in a game of checkers on the front porch of the general store. But that's what we love about these rivalries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know where you lost me, but anyway, I don't know where you lost me.
At the 3-point shot was going up, and you drove off the road, and I lost you after that.
No, actually, I didn't. I just said it is what it is, But anyway, it's typical Alabama, Tennessee, whatever they play in, whatever kind of game. So, but like I said, moving forward, Rob, you talked about a split possibly or whatever. This is going to be a tough. You got Florida coming here, then you've got to go to Auburn. If you can pick off one of those two, like you said, I think it'd be really a great finish, considering the tough schedule that you had down the stretch. I think the last 7 opponents were top 25 teams. So tough stretch here that Alabama's had, but regardless of what happens, you move on. You don't forget now, last year they kind of collapsed at the end of the year. At the end of the regular season, they lost in the first game of the SEC tournament to Florida, and then they go on this run in the NCAA tournament. So you got to be playing your best at the right time, and that's usually tournament time.
Yeah, Yancey, he's right. Alabama's the kind of team that you worry in the tournament because they play balls to the walls. They love to score over 100. They do it a lot. Ole Miss is more of a grind team. What's your best case scenario for Ole Miss, and what do they need to do, and where do you see them getting a seed?
I think right now they're sitting on about a 7 seed, but they've got Tennessee and Florida, to end the season. It's kind of the same story all over the
Yeah.
SEC, right? It just seems so difficult. They got to go on the road to Florida, so they really need to get the game in Oxford
Yeah.
against Tennessee. Tennessee's a different team on the road than they are at home, although they're still very worthy on the road. But I think them playing Tennessee at senior night at home could give them a boost. They just need to get off the schneid, and they did against Oklahoma. Again, they've got to correct some issues on defense, which is so unusual under Beard. But 4 teams in a row shot over 50% for the game. And that's you might could go through Beard's whole coaching career and that hadn't happened. So they got to fix those issues, and making the tournament is really not a question mark at all. It's just how are they going to be playing when they get
Yeah.
to the tournament?
All right, let's switch gears and talk about a sport near and dear to our hearts: bowling. No, football. All right, spring practice at Alabama, and we'll start with you, Rodney, and then go back to Yancy. The quarterback position at Alabama. I mean, it's such a high profile position, and I think you've talked about Ty Simpson. He just gets a little bit better every year. He's a coach's son. He's got a younger brother at Martin, Tennessee, Westview High School that's coming up through the ranks. Don't know where he's going to go. I don't even know if he's made his decision yet. But
He's only like in the 9th grade, but he's really good.
Yeah.
He's already setting records.
yeah, and so you think about Ty Simpson, and you are so good at chronicling the quarterback position at Alabama. And defensively, you've got things. Let's talk about Alabama's goals going into spring practice. What do you want to see them accomplish to give you a lot of optimism heading into the 25 season?
Well, first of all, they've got a lot of guys that are going to be either not participating or participating on a very limited basis. So I think that gives you a lot of opportunities with young guys. Like, let's just take, for example, left tackle, where Caden Proctor is going to be really limited. So that opens the door for other guys. I've heard a lot of buzz about the true freshman, Jackson Lloyd out of California, 5-star rated player by some. I mean, he's a guy that's 6'7", 310. They talk about he's got an NFL body right now. He's extraordinarily athletic. I think he's been a guy that's gotten a lot of buzz, And again, I'm not saying he's going to start or anything like that. I'm just saying these are guys, are kind of guys going to have the opportunity. There's about 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 of them that these newcomers, whether they're transfers or early enrollee high school players, they're going to have an opportunity to step in and gain tons of experience. And here's the thing too. If you look at what DeBoer did last year, kind of different from Saban a little bit. They threw out some of these young guys early in games. I mean, you'd look up in the 3rd possession of the opponent, and there would be 2 young corners in there. There'd be another safety, and you're like, wait a minute now. I mean, Saban didn't do that. You might have gotten some mop up experience, this type of thing, but DeBoer is showing that he's not really afraid to throw young guys out there. So I think, Rob, to get to your point, just the opportunity to develop in a lot of young players. I think with Ryan Grubb here, it's going to be interesting to see how this quarterback situation kind of develops, and just a lot of things right now that I think sound positive.
Yeah, and they do. And Yancy, talking about Ole Miss football, I was listening to Chuck Oliver talking about Lane Kiffin last week as a coach, and I don't know Matt Corral, like you said, he got some paychecks in the NFL, but Lane Kiffin, doesn't he get credit for working with Jalen Hurts at Alabama, or do they give that to Bill O'Brien or Lincoln Riley? But regardless, Lane Kiffin in college, his quarterbacks like Jackson Dart, who is having a really good combine. Now you got Austin Simmons coming in. He's there. He ain't going to play baseball anymore. What are the goals of Ole Miss in spring practice? And God, I wish I could sneak down to Oxford tonight with Perkins and Maureen and people going to see that Tennessee Ole Miss game. But they've got to have some goals.
Well, I mean, you got to identify roles for everybody. You have 18 out of your 22 starters are gone. So you're gonna have 18 new starters no matter what. That's a massive, massive turnover. Even in the portal era, is still a massive turnover. So, they got to identify the best five on the offensive line. Certainly, you got a brand new group of receivers outside of Caden Lee. Got to identify your new running back rotation. Everybody from last season is gone, which I don't think anybody's crying about that from Ole Miss land. And on defensive line, you're pretty settled. You had six guys, that young pups that were getting ready to take over for the group of seniors last year's, and then you also returned Taryn Perkins there at defensive end. Linebacker, you got some continuity with some linebackers, and secondary is going to be brand new. So it's just it's. I mean, you kind of start from plan A. You got to start from scratch.
Yeah, and Rodney, you hear what Yancey's saying, and you made great comments about it. The SEC, everybody now, slowly but surely, they're getting a general manager. Talk about the role of Courtney Morgan. I met
Yeah.
him at the Touchdown Club in Memphis. Real personable guy. He goes, "Anybody ever tell you you look like Kirby?" I said, "What?" He said, "I look like Kirby Smart." And I'm like, "Well, no, I've never heard that before, but I'll take one of his paychecks. I'll take 1 month." But yeah,
Exactly.
but Courtney Morgan, he is from California, played football at Michigan. He was telling funny stories. He said Tom Brady was a senior, I was a freshman, both of us from California, and he used to always hit me up for my tickets, but I could see Courtney Morgan as a guy that owns the room when he walks in. He exudes confidence. He's funny, but I think he knows a lot about football. And he's got Nick Saban. He said the second day he was there, invited him in to talk to him to offer his support. What more can you ask for other than a taco burger from the Casa? I don't know.
No, I mean, I think obviously, what Courtney Morgan does here in terms of helping manage the roster, personnel decisions, the evaluations, the connections.
Yeah. Well, we'll get Rodney. Obviously, Bigfoot or something got hold of his line. But talk about. We also met your general manager, Yancy, for Ole Miss at the Touchdown Club in Memphis. Weather's getting bad. I mean, we are expecting a lot of big storms in the South today. So everybody, pay attention to your weather meteorologist and what have you. But that is happening right now. But Yancy, talk about Ole Miss on that side, but the general manager's role, because as he said, he's got to
Yeah.
generally manage everybody on that staff.
Yeah, Billy Glasscock is the general manager there at Ole Miss, and he came from Texas and did an outstanding job, obviously there
Yeah.
at Texas. And he's one of the best in the business, and learned a lot for many different facets of the program. But I know that they're really pleased with the job he's done, and lucky to have him.
Well, and you think about it, it allows the head coach to focus more on coaching. And Lane Kiffin's different. A lot of people say he's an enigma, but he does it his way, but it works. And the new standard at Ole Miss, they're upset about being 9-3 because it was make the playoffs. But it looks to me like they're doubling down on their efforts. What have you seen? And I'm gonna go back to Rodney here, but what have you seen out of Ole Miss, the collective, in terms of commitment? Increase or
Well,
decrease? I can't imagine anything but an increase.
yeah, word we've heard is that I mean, obviously they got the number 2 portal class in the country, so they certainly did not decrease in
Yeah.
today's climate.
Yeah.
But what we're hearing is that they've used basically what Ohio State used last year, which I forgot what the total purse was for Ohio State, 27, 28 million for the total purse, but that's going to go up, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's not going to put Ole Miss at the highest of the NIL of the collectives. used in the country. I imagine Ohio State's is probably going to go up $8-10 million. So very competitive. I would imagine probably probably around the 5 to 10 range. I would think where they'll probably land when it's all said and done, as far as what they're spending on their roster.
Okay, it makes sense. Look, I think we've lost Rodney. We are getting some really rough weather. But Yancy, look, I know you're having a great time over in Germany. Be
Yeah,
careful
it's
over
Mardi
there.
Gras out over here. Everybody's like Mardi Gras in Europe, and I was like, there's Catholics all over the world.
Oh yeah,
Mardi
one
Gras
point
just
two.
hit New Orleans.
Hey, 1.2 billion Catholics
Dude,
all over the
please.
world, at
That's right.
least
That's
that
right.
we know
But
of it.
it's
Well,
it's
Yancy,
it's huge.
hey, look,
It's
be
been a good
careful
time.
over there, and be careful. I want to see get some pictures. We'll put them up on the show next week. Okay, catch him, Yancy Porter, one of the absolute best. Again, have a safe trip, and Ein Prosit, have a cold beer or room temperature beer they do over there.
And thank you guys.
All
Y'all
right,
have
you
a
bet.
blessed day.
You do too. God bless you. Rodney, before we go, we got you back here. The thing, you know what I've noticed? People always wondered what would it be like if Coach Bryant would have lived in post-retirement, but sadly he died like 30 days, as he always said, after he retired. Nick Saban has become more popular in his role as an ambassador. And what you see on ESPN, he is not afraid to offer up an honest, candid opinion. Have you had a chance to talk with Coach Saban, sit down with him since he retired? Is he more accessible?
Heck
Yeah, I'm
no.
kidding.
Are you kidding me?
I'm just kidding with you. Has he
Yeah, he
invited
comes
you
over
over
all
for
the time.
lunch?
You guys play golf. He wants to talk to you all the time.
Hey,
Ah,
Rodney, come
he's
by for
having
lunch. I'll tell you
connection.
some
He's
stuff.
having connections
Yeah.
issues.
All right. Well,
The storms
Rodney,
are coming, so we'll get him. We'll get him next time.
yeah, and let's do this. Let me say
I'll
this. This
text him.
shirt that I'm wearing here, I got this on the 50% off rack. It's a
Oh,
barber shirt, and they've got, I'm telling you, out at Hewlett and Dunn Boot and Clothing Company, they've got Duck Camp, Ariat, Wrangler, Filson, Barber. They've got so much good looking stuff on that 50% rack, and they're getting ready to bring in all the spring and summer stuff. But I was out there, I'm out there a lot. Get out to Hewlett and Dunn. They're open Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. They've got unbelievable selection of boots and these Barber purses. The ladies love Barber. Got one for Audrey a few weeks ago. Just ask for Raven Carpenter or JM or Lydia or Eli or Charles Hall, the owner, and his wife Laura. They make buying the best looking clothes and gear for the life. So easy. 10 a.m., 6 p.m. Go to hewlettandunn.com. And Brendan, want to say this too. Florida, I think you hear it objectively. And tonight I get to be on the Buddy Martin show with you, and your dad just sent that text. Florida's the one team. There are two teams that bother me if you're not in the SEC. And Rodney,
we're gonna try Rodney right.
yeah,
right
it's
right
Alabama because they get in the track meet, and Florida because they've got 5 big guys. So, Rodney, look, we'll wrap it up now, and I'll just say that, man, I know we got some connection issues, but let people know how they can subscribe and follow Tider Insider. And what are you talking about on Tider Insider TV tonight with our good friend Gary Harris at 6:30 p.m. Central?
Yeah, well, again, I guess basically basketball for sure. And, talking about spring practice, we'll have some in-depth stuff there, a lot of discussion, a lot of phone calls and all of that. So TiderInsider.com. It's only $48 a year. If you're an Alabama fan, go to TiderInsider.com. You can sign up right now, get instant access stuff, but also our all sports. That's our community there of Alabama. Ton of discussion going on, whether it's football, basketball, whatever. It's really
Yeah, it really is. And Brendan, you've got GatorbaitMedia.com. It's because of the electronic technology, it never stops. I mean, you're putting out content. I get the emails, you and friends, your dad, the whole staff there. But then there's so much happening. And I'm looking at this SEC race right now, Brendan. I mean, Auburn won the regular season. Now you got the tournament. You got March Madness. and there's so many compelling storylines. So we'll be talking about them tonight on the Buddy Martin Show, and it's on this channel every Monday through Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern. And also, we'll do our show tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern on Wednesdays with Ronnie Sanders from AU Undercover, Doug Dean, and
folks, don't worry about the time so much. Rob's old radio guy,
yeah.
So he's thinking that we're going to broadcast at a certain time. Folks, you can watch this stuff, and you can come on to us right now and rewind it and watch it from the beginning.
Yeah,
so
you're right.
Just go to Twitter, go to Facebook, go to YouTube, subscribe, like, follow, and you'll get notifications when we're live and when you can go back and watch it. Don't worry about the time.
Shoney's right. I mean, Brendan.
We're not on radio.
Yeah, we're not on radio. We are podcast. So watch us live or at your leisure. Most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us, folks. We're the most blessed people in the world. It is Fat Tuesday, Mardi Gras. Make the best of it with this weather coming. And tomorrow, I don't know what I know what I'm giving up for Lent. As my dad always says, pheasant under glass. But Brendan, wild boar boots, man. You were going to be the only guy in Ocala and we got to order them. We're trying to find them. If I can't, I'll get you rattlesnake or python. There's some,
I'm more of a python guy because it's Florida than the Florida python.
Squeeze them, But hey, O-Dome. I will say this too. I would love to talk to the architect if he's still alive that did the O-Dome. Probably not, but I'm looking here around the SEC. What's the best place to play basketball? And the worst place if you're having to play there. O-Dome has they've won a lot.
Look, it doesn't matter where you go. So it really doesn't. So you can look. Urban Meyer won running sprints in the parking lot. So
exactly.
It doesn't matter anymore about that stuff. The
brick and mortar
don't matter. It don't matter anymore. It's about how much you're paying me. Come on, Rob. You heard of this? I'm
saying. My whole point is you can spend like the Hefner Center or what they did at Auburn with the Waltz Center. Those are great. But the conversation before these kids leave your campus is, how much am I getting? What's my NIL deal going to be? As long as it's like that, the brick and mortar, I think, will slow down a little bit. We'll have to get our architect on the facilities arms race, Yan Cowart, to come on with us here soon to talk about what schools are doing, how the changes are happening. But thanks for watching, everybody. Go out and support all of our great sponsors like Matei's Garage, open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Black Road in East Memphis next to Folks Folly, and Web-Footed Kennels, Jonesboro, Arkansas. Best dog trainer in the world, Chris Aiken, and the staff. Get your dog ready. You can never be too ready. And watch basketball tonight. And watch us at 9 p.m. Eastern on the Buddy
Rob,
Martin
say
Show.
goodbye, Rob.
Shalom.
Say goodbye, Rob.
I'm out of here.
We're working on our saying goodbyes. Rob is a hard time getting out the door. Shut up, Rob. Say goodbye. Okay.
Good night.
Goodbye from ADD Sports. Good night, everybody.